Hello, I'm Colette, and I'm here today on Witch Ways to share with you some information about spring equinox, some of the qualities of this holiday, and some simple magics that you can do at home by yourself or with a small group of other people. Spring equinox is a time of equal day and equal night. Every day from this point forward until we reach summer solstice, there will be a little bit more sunlight and a little bit less starlight and darkness to work with. So we shift our magic and focus on the qualities associated with the season, with birth, fertility, renewal, rebirth. Spring equinox is also associated with newborns, blessing and protecting them, blessing and planting of seeds as well. There are many, many cultures around the world that celebrate spring equinox or something similar to it, or the planting of seeds at the start of the growing season. Today, I'm going to be talking about the traditions and magic from my background, which is Western European. Here are some simple magics that you can do by yourself or with others. I always like to start my seasonal magic or any of my magic really with creating an altar. And those of you who've been watching for a while and are subscribed might have noticed I changed my altar out today and made it just a little more spring-like. I'm a big fan of intuitive altars, and I think you can learn a lot from just trusting your gut, looking around, and finding the things that remind you of the season or the purpose for which you're building an altar. Personally, I like the colors green and white. I also like yellows and pale spring flower colors as well to add. And I incorporate those colors, particularly green and white, when I lay cloths down or with candles, candle holders, or any glass that I use on my altar. I always like to add some nice spring blooms or anything really that seems seasonal. You can even use seasonal produce from your garden if that feels right to you, or even bare branches that are just starting to bud can be really beautiful on a spring altar, because spring is that time when things really can be very slow and just starting to open, or they can be very full and blooming full on. An altar is certainly enough. You don't have to do anything else. Just having an altar allows the magic of the season and the energy of it to gate into your house and to influence your life magically. However, you can also do a few other things. You can light a candle and make a wish. And I think it's a really good time to make wishes around those qualities that we talked about, like fertility, rebirth, renewal, blessing of young ones. And so that's really simple to do. You can just hold that wish inside yourself and speak it out spontaneously. Take a deep breath and release it. Or you can write it out if you choose, if you want to get the wording just right. You can also light a candle and speak your prayer and keep the candle burning until it is gone. And so when you do that, I like to use really small ones, like birthday candles are super great, or small tea lights. I really like beeswax personally. I think that they're the best, but you can use any kind of candles that are called to you personally. Another simple act that you can do is to witness the rising of the sun on spring equinox. And it's a pretty simple thing. You can just get up. The sun's rising around 7 in my time zone right now. And go outside, or from a window that faces east, simply take a breath, ground and center yourself, and just hold space and try to be quiet and witness that miracle of the sun coming up on spring equinox morning. Another type of magic that takes advantage of the seasonal energy is the bath of renewal. I like to personally start that with either a shower, imagining stepping out of the old as I take that shower, or burning some herbs. If you don't know what herbs to burn, I did a video about a month or so ago about that, and I'll try and put a link to that either below in the description or at the end of this video. So I do one of those two things to clear off, and then I make a very, very comfortable bath for myself. You can add to it whatever you like. If you like oils or bath salts, feel free to add those. Anything that feels renewing and supportive and nourishing to you. You can add flowers in vases around the bathtub or where you can see them. I tend to not put commercial flowers in the bath because they are sprayed with things that are hundreds of times more toxic than the kind of pesticides that go on your food. And you really don't want to be stewing or soaking or trying to renew in that toxicness. So I avoid that. If you have flowers in your yard, you want to make sure that they're not poisonous flowers. A lot of really beautiful horticultural plants are very toxic or poisonous or irritating to the skin. But some ones that definitely are suitable are, you can use primroses, you can use plum or cherry blossoms, and if you live far south and you have fuchsias blooming and they're not commercial, or you've grown them for a few years, you can add fuchsia flowers to your bath as well. Or if you have some dried calendula left over from the previous year, those are always great because they represent the sun and that healing power of renewal. So you can do that. And again, you can read something about your intention, writing that out ahead, or speak spontaneously, whatever feels right to you. And you can light a candle and let that burn out to help carry your wish off, or not, as you choose. And when you're done, just have some soft time to let the magic settle. I also like to do magic around supporting birds, especially the small birds that live in my yard at this time. So one of the ways I do that is simply by representing them on my altar, putting things like bird nests that I've found or feathers that I've found on my altar. Sometimes I'll take ornaments from Christmas that are of birds and place them on my altar at this time, and just wish them support. And sometimes I'll offer the traditional witch blessing of, may you never hunger, may you never thirst. And I might follow that up by offering some wild bird seed or some kind of bird food for the type of birds that are living where I am. The other thing that I do is I offer my hair at nest building season. And a lot of witches don't do that. And there's probably some good reasons for that. The basic idea behind that is that if someone has something that's that personal, that has your DNA in it, they can use it to work magic on you. Personally, I'm not that worried about that, but I do tend to only offer my hair in places where I know it won't become garbage for other people, or other humans won't run into it anyway, in my yard or far, far distant places where humans aren't going to find it. So that's how I deal with that. I also like to offer prayers and well wishes to birds. Maybe I'll even put an altar up out in the yard under the trees. I have a really big walnut tree that covers like 6 yards. And sometimes I'll put some offerings or an altar out there just in honor of the birds at this time of year. Another bit of magic that I like to do at spring equinox, and this is also something you can do at any new moon, but especially spring equinox energy is really nice for this, is to do a little magic around any projects that you're embarking on in your life. And you can do that a lot of different ways. One of the ways is to simply write out on a piece of paper a list of the projects that you would like to launch in this season or in this upcoming year, and place that on your altar and leave it there for a couple weeks or until you feel done with it. At that point, I like to bury it. Since I'm doing this at spring equinox, it seems significant to me to bury that piece of paper as if it was a seed that the earth could help grow and help my new projects to flourish. If you have any newborns in your life of any kind, animal or human, it's a great time of year to honor them and wish for blessings for them. You might write their name on your altar, or have a representation of them on your spring equinox altar. You can light a small candle and say blessings for that being as you light it, and then let the candle burn down until it's gone. It's also a good time to do seed blessings, and you can gather up your seeds for the year and place them on the altar and just charge them with your intention of them growing well and thriving. And charging, people do that a lot of different ways, but it really can be as simple as just pulling some energy up through your body into your hands, and imagine that moving out your hands into the seeds and then withdrawing your hands just like you're moving them out of a pair of gloves, and letting go and shaking that energy off. This year in the Pacific Northwest in 2022, the spring equinox falls on Sunday. If you live in a different time zone, it might be a different day, a day on either side. Probably not, but it could be. So you might want to just Google it. Google spring equinox 2022 and put in the initials for your time zone and see what comes up. The peak time to do magic for spring equinox could be spring equinox night, but really a few days either side of it is really, really fine. Especially since this year the full moon falls on Friday night. So I feel like that whole period from, say, Thursday evening all the way through until Monday morning is going to be very, very potent for you to do any of the magic that you wish to do. Also, you could do this magic anytime between now and say about 3 weeks from now, when the energy of spring equinox really starts to kind of shift more towards Beltane energy. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe so you know when new videos come out, and please be well and be safe.